Wake and Bake, number 3, podcast 118, action. Alrighty then, looky here. Started my morning with a wake and bake, and I'm feeling alright. Hadn't smoked any of this ceremonial pipe since I fell asleep last night. Hey, good morning there, Skynyrd fans and ladies and gentlemen. And this is Wake and Bake number 3 of the STONED Roadie Show. And my name's Craig Reed, a.k.a. the STONED Roadie. And this is my co-host, the rocket scientist, Griff Martin. And what are we going to talk about this fine day today, Griff Martin?
Well, I noticed you got you a new hat on there, Craig, and I was asking a little bit about that, and there's a little bit of history about that concerning Leon. What's the story on that hat there, Craig?
Well, when we was up in Alaska during the tribute tour, I was traveling with the band, and they got to the point where they wanted to. They was tired of just going and traveling and going just to see the venue and the bus and, same old thing. So we started staying in 5-star hotels and going on little field trips and stuff. So we went on a whale watching expedition, and while I was smoking hash, while I was driving the boat and smoking hash with the captain of the boat, and had the band all freaked out because there's Craig and they're driving the boat, and it's, we're in freezing weather. Well, if I had crashed the boat, we were all dead, We was seeing them. They're not penguins. What do they call them things though? Oh God, them little, they look like penguins. There was a bunch of them, but we was whale watching, man. Them whales was all under the boat and stuff. And I talked the captains out of this hat, And as soon as Leon saw his hat, he wanted it, But this is a real one, I mean, this is a really cool. This is a leather and shit, But I didn't give him this one, but I went to the gift shop and bought him one, and he wore it on stage, but yeah, he didn't get this one. But yeah, this is part of my hat collection. I always talk about if I have one or something, I have a collection of them. You'll see that, what I'm saying. I'm not exaggerating. I got a collection of a lot of things. This is one of my hat collections here.
Speaking of that hat collection and that Manatee Fest that's going on today. As a matter of fact, when I get done with this podcast, I'm going to throw my bag in the car and I'm headed to the Crystal River to the Manatee Fest. And we've heard a little something about Leon's son is going to be there. And he may be bringing Savannah, Six Guns bass player, one of Leon's hats, and she's going to wear it and play bass on stage with one of Leon's hats, which that's pretty cool.
That's what Chad told me last night. Yeah. I talked to him, and he said he went and picked Savannah up at the airport, and Savannah's going to be staying with him for a few days, and he was going to have to try to go out and get some amps and stuff that they could rehearse on while they were there, because all the amps were in the truck or whatever, and Chad was going to go try to get him some amps, and he said, yeah, little Lee was called little Lee. I said, little Lee. Yeah, Leon's son Lee, little Lee. He'll always be little Lee to me.
Now, we had Lee on the podcast for about 5 minutes, and he started having some internet issues, and then he just said screw it and left, and then we ain't heard from him since. He said, Chad said that he was going to bring a couple of Leon's hats and give one to Savannah. Yeah, he's going to let Savannah.
That's real cool, man.
That's seriously
God,
cool.
God, man, that's real cool. Yeah, that's real cool.
But you guys, you want to get down to that Manatee Fest today. It's going to be tomorrow when Six Gun plays. They're going to have a a couple tribute bands there, Santana and Jimmy Buffett tribute bands, and of course Six Guns headlining it, and they're already down there and raring and ready to go and doing some practicing. So you guys get there and take a look at that. Hey, Craig, some of the you drinking that coffee that TP gave you?
No, I drank that all up.
Oh
She
yeah.
said she was going to get me some more, but yeah, I don't drink coffee, so it all tastes the same to me. I'm just, I started drinking a little bit in the morning. It kind of wakes me up a little bit. And I'm kind of needing that.
Yeah, I never knew you to
Kind
drink
of
coffee.
different. No, I never have. I used to drink it when I would drive truck or something, and I'd pull into a truck stop and I'd say, you got any coffee that was here yesterday? Give me a cup of coffee that'll walk out of here by itself.
So TP, you got him started on coffee now. So now
But it wakes me up. Well, there's people. Kathy Godzi, when she stayed here, she drinks coffee. So I went out and got a couple two pot coffee pot. And even when she stayed here, I thought I learned how to make coffee. But then when I tried to make it myself, I didn't know what temperature to put it on, so I looked on YouTube and learned how to make coffee. Now I'm kind of amused that I can make coffee, So
one thing about Craig, when he gets into some kind of a new antic or hobby, he studies everything about it. He gets on the internet and studies up on it, and he knows everything about it before he does it. So that's kind of like an Ozzy Osbourne thing, He gets, you ever see Ozzy? He gets on these little kicks where he's, doing something on a show like making subs or drawing or something. That's kind of what Craig's like. Hey, little bit follow up on the aliens in Miami. I actually saw some video of one of those aliens there, Craig. It looked like a firework going off in the sky, and then you saw this big looking shadow of some big tall alien walking around. Did you see that?
Well, you know what? There was the first sighting of that was actually in like
The military base.
2019, like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it came on the military base, and it went out over the water and went underwater for like a few minutes, and then it came back up, on the water. But they say it reminds them of a jellyfish because it's just hanging and it's got like tentacles, and it's just kind of, it just looks really fake.
Well, that was probably the government practicing with CGI and holograms until they could perfect it and do something with it.
But they've seen it. It's been spotted like 3 or 4 times, in different situations, But yeah, just so happens it happened this time the day that Epstein's files were being released.
Yeah, they had to block all the interest in that. I mean, they're running out of material, so now they got to break out some UFOs, to try to really astound people. But,
Not
so
that
you
I
guys-
don't believe. There's got to be, there's got to be life on other planets. There's just there's there's literally trillions of other stars. I mean, that's beyond the imagination that there's trillions. I mean, a billion is a 1,000 million, and I guess a trillion is 1,000 billion, and it's like there's trillions of stars, and each star is like at least a billion light years away from each, or I don't know how many light years away from one another, but that's a lot of space.
but the flat earthers say that there's a firmament, like a big dome over the planet, and you gotta bust through that to get to outer space, and then that's what Elon Musk had been trying to do. He's always trying to.
Well, they sent that. They said you've sent you. How many satellites have you sent up? You said you've sent up like 100.
Oh well, I supported over 100 space shuttle missions, and when I first hired on, it was a lot of DoD stuff, and I didn't really know a whole lot about that. It was military satellites and things, and then when Clinton made that deal with Russia, and they started like sending up a bunch of space station stuff, and then they started assembling Space Station Freedom, and then they turned it into well, they got rid of Freedom, Space Station Freedom, and that was a big effort to send all those pieces up there to the space station. And a lot of people think they didn't really do it, but I happened to see actually go into the clean rooms and things and see all that stuff. So yeah, definitely a lot of satellites up there floating around, and some of them probably look like stars, and you can still see the space station flying around up there if you check the schedule. So pretty cool. Then yeah, also Craig, I was kind of looking at some of the comments and some of the questions, and I thought I'd entertain some of these. Some of the people wrote in and some of the comments and questions, and thought we'd go ahead and take a look at some of that. A guy named Brian Germain is asking you a question. Who played slide on I Know a Little?
Steve, and actually he used my Stratocaster, the one that
Yeah.
the one that I put together. That's the one that he used. When I took it to the studio, I just put it together, So it had a Schechner kit in it, and it had three pickups, and the switches went up and down, and if one switch was up and one switch was down, it was out of phase, and if they were both up, it was in phase. And Steve said, "Wow, whose is this?" I said, "Oh, I just kind of threw it together." He said, "You mind if I use it?" And I said, "No, no." The action was a little high on it, so I guess it was kind of easy to play slide on it, but
Oh, cool.
yeah.
So he liked it when he played it, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and use
Like the
it."
way it sounded. Yeah, that was one I just put together out of parts. Ed gave me the body and Alan gave me the neck. It's that one that Steve had on. It's a blonde body, and it's got the brass pick guard, and he's there with Steve's over there with it. I think Ronnie and Artimus are in the picture. I don't remember who's in the picture.
Well, whatever happened to it?
I sold it.
Yeah.
I sold it to the same guy that bought Alan's coupe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, got $50,000 for that. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, first guitar that I put together out of parts.
So when Steve got done playing it, he gave it right back to you, huh?
Yeah, he just used it. Yeah.
How cool is that? I think we did talk a little bit about that on one of the podcasts. You guys probably did hear something about that. Then we were back on one of the Wake and Bakes. I think it was the first one, maybe the second one. And we were talking about when we were in school and having our way with the teachers, some of the loose teachers. And this guy says, "Yeah," he goes, one of his buddies, a bass player in his band, said he was banging his art teacher, and said they were all hanging out at her house and smoking pot, and she was going around making them all sandwiches and stuff, and so we weren't the only one had that going on in our school, Craig. But back then we didn't tell, so nowadays I guess they tell and they get the teacher in trouble, but yeah, back then we didn't have to worry about that. Then yeah, another guy was asking, Craig, are you still listening to WNIR? And
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's the only station I listen to. That station's on all the time. Yeah, that's talk radio. Yeah.
And some guy, what's it, Kerry Coleman or something like
Harry
that?
Coleman, yeah, he's on late night. That's where the one Bob Golick, he used to play football for the Browns and the Raiders, and he was a good football player. He's one of the hosts on there from 3 to 7 or something like that, and then Kerry Coleman comes on after that. Yeah, Because they're pretty honest. They're all conservative. Although their news is ABC or something like that. When they do their news, it's all liberal news. It's kind of weird, but all the
Oh
hosts
yeah.
are all conservative. Yeah.
Then another guy named Brian, was asking about. Well, this may have come off of another comment that I pulled off of one of our podcasts, and he's asking about the Lynyrd Skynyrd show in 1976 in New Orleans. Uh, I guess Skynyrd wasn't going to play. There's an issue with the plane or something, and then later on, come to find out that Ron Eckerman, I guess maybe he mentioned it in his book or something, but said it really had to do with a coin toss, and Ronnie wasn't happy with the coin toss on who was going to headline or who was going to headline the show. And then I just happened to pull it up here on the internet, and it says on this day, Saturday, July 17th, 1976, at the Tulane Stadium concert, ZZ Top, Jay Giles, Lynyrd Skynyrd, and others, including Marshall Tucker and Charlie Daniels. When it was announced at the stadium that Lynyrd Skynyrd was not able to perform and canceled their show with other musical performers, fights started breaking out throughout the stadium. This would have been the last performance in New Orleans of the original members, Lynyrd Skynyrd. The plane crash that happened in October 20th, 1977, was also the first and last ever concert held at Tulane Stadium. And then it goes on to say that it was a really crazy event, and that people were hurling beer bottles and ice chests from the upper deck. So I give a big ruckus going on there. You remember that, Craig?
You know what? We talked about this before we came on. You kind of asked me about it, and I said, "Well, let me move my mic over here." I said, "I remember there being something about a coin toss, and it was Marshall Tucker and ZZ Top and us, and they were bickering about who was going to open the show because at that time Marshall Tucker was really big, and ZZ Top was really big, and Skynyrd was pretty big, and they were all kind of like equal almost, and so it was like if Skynyrd would headline and ZZ Top would be in the middle, that would be Marshall Tucker would be opening, and they didn't want that. Well, I think you said Jay Giles and
Yeah.
Charlie Daniels played then too, and they were all pretty big then. 76, all those bands were all pretty big. So
It seemed like I kind of remember something with that tour, and those guys may have been in the Lakeland Civic Center on that tour. I'll have to go back and check. But you said you have a tour schedule of that.
Yeah, I've got all the itineraries. I'll on our next podcast, I'll pull out all my itineraries, and you just have to give me that date, and I'll tell you what hotel we were staying and everything. Yeah.
And you can take a look at what concert was right after that. Maybe you can
Yeah,
figure out
before and
what
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we were doing and the whole thing. Yeah, the whole.
Then we had one guy, he asked, let's talk, can get Craig to talk a little bit about some songs that he likes, anything you can give him any information on. Working for MCA, Needle in the Spoon, Whiskey Rock and Roller, and On the Hunt. He says, anything you can give him about anything. Were you there when any of that was being recorded, Craig?
Well, all of those. I was present when every song that they ever wrote was recorded except for the first album. So yeah, all of those. MCA, that was on was that on the first or second album?
Wasn't that Second Helping?
Second helping, I think so. Yeah, I was there for all of those, but I think Kathy Godzi asked me that question once before too. Those are all songs that were in the set list, so those were all, you know, good powerful songs. MCA was they opened up with, and On the Hunt was like bow 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 bow
Yeah.
bow 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 bow, they're all real powerful songs.
So you heard that being written there at the Hell House, I
Oh
suspect.
yeah, I heard every song that they did after the first album. I was there and saw it, saw
Yeah,
most of it. And
and Craig.
matter of fact, a whole lot of them. I was the first one to hear them. Ronnie would come up to me in the elevator and sing in my ear and stuff in the elevator, And I'm all hung over, man, and Ronnie's singing in my ear, singing these songs.
I remember you telling me that you used to get sick of hearing Sweet Home Alabama.
I never liked Sweet Home of Alabama when they recorded it. I thought it was hokey, man. Sweet Home Alabama,
And that was their rambling man,
where
that
the
was
skies are so blue, boo, boo, boo. In Birmingham, they love the governor, boo, boo, boo. I just always thought it was hokey. I don't know. That shows what the kind of music critic I am. When I heard Kiss, I went, "Those guys will never make it."
yeah, that's the same thing I thought. I was like, what the hell is
those
this?
guys, are, those guys, they're too theatrical, man. They'll never make it.
Oh God, and they're still cranking them out, man.
Oh
That's
my
crazy.
God, they're selling gosh dang Kiss dolls and stuff, man.
Yeah, talking about
Hey, you
merchandise,
know what?
man.
Today, no, let me talk about that. Today, there was a guy talking about he was like a roadie. I've been watching different roadie like documentaries and stuff, but he was talking about bands that there's no original members in them anymore, and that was kind of like the theme of the whole thing, like Journey and or like Foreigner, and but the first one he mentioned was Lynyrd Skynyrd, and it was like he was talking about building up to it, and then he kind of said, I don't know what made me think of this topic, but like Lynyrd Skynyrd, like Johnny is kind of like there, and is his brother, and it's kind of like there's a connection, but there's nothing else. And I was going, dude, man, how about Ricky? So, a lot of these shows, man, they're just holes all through them. It's kind of funny, but yeah, go ahead with the direction you were going.
Oh well, yeah. Speaking of roadies, and we were talking about that earlier today. Craig and I, we get on the phone and bullshit 2, 3, 4 times a day about stuff, and Craig was talking about how roadies came about, and I was telling him, when I was talking to Joe Barnes, he was really good with these guitar chords and came up with a way that I guess you said that he
Yeah,
grounded.
they were grounded at the amplifier. They were the shielded cord. A lot of cords just have a black wire and a black wire and a white wire in them. And one's
Yeah,
positive, one's negative. Well, he used like a mic cord that shielded, and in the shielded part, he would attach it to the ground wire, the black wire, at the amplifier, and then at the guitar, he left that open, so the whole wires were like shielded, the positive and the negative. And he said it cut down on
yeah, the background noise and
the
amp
buzz,
noise.
just a
No, and that's what Joe told me. He said, Ronnie was thrilled to death about how he eliminated all that static and everything. And he's like, hey, you feel like traveling and being a kind of a stagehand for us. And I guess that's how roadies came about. You found somebody
Well,
who was good at something.
from the things I've been picking up on, there really wasn't any roadies at all until 1968, and that's kind of puzzling, because Elvis and the Big Bopper and all those guys used to play those colleges and the theater. I guess they had theatrical stagehands. I've been a theatrical stagehand and I've worked many Broadway plays, Lion King, and just to name a few of the things that I've done several Broadway things and was a wardrobe person and was out on doing wardrobe changes and stuff. So I'm real, and all the sets, props, taking the props in and off stage. And back in the old days they had to have had those kind of people. Even on the Little Rascals, you see, when the Little Rascals were performing the theatrical things, they had the sliding props going in and out, so they had to have people doing that kind of stuff. But I guess bands themselves didn't have roadies. They didn't have people to set up equipment and stuff. And I was watching this thing and they said the first roadie was actually Herbie Herbert, who was Journey's manager. And he said, and it was like a Bill Graham, it was like San Francisco, and Bill Graham started all this like indoor stuff, like the Fillmore, East and West, and he had this thing going out there where there's this big flight of steps, and Herbie Herbert was this band, not Journey, but he was another band's manager. So it was a thing where the band played early and then they played later on, so Herbie became known as a roadie because he was humping gear. What he was doing. Because he was like the very first what you would call a roadie, I guess. And then what was it? 69 was Woodstock. I guess they had roadies then, but they were saying that actually the Allman Brothers were the first band to actually have an official road crew, and they had Red Dog and Joe Dan and Callahan, and then they had oh God.
Didn't Red Dog like kind of finance the band a little bit?
Well, Red Dog was their friend, and he was in Vietnam, and he was in the Marines, and he got injured. He had a Purple Heart, and he came home, and he was getting a pension, and he financed the band. And then Dwayne Allman went to Jacksonville. He was, from Jacksonville, I guess. And found like Barry Oakley and Dickie Betts and then put together, actually put a road crew together, and the road crew and the band all kind of stayed in a little house, kind of like Skynyrd actually started doing, and Herbie Herbert had that thing going on with Journey. When I worked with Journey, we all stayed in a house out there. It was the crew house, and we all stayed there. It was pretty cool. So, but the Bill Graham kind of started the whole, the whole music industry like that, and it was kind of cool because me and Gary went to Bill Graham's funeral. Gary asked me to go with him out of everybody on the whole tour. When we were out on tour when he died, Gary wanted me to go with him, which was real cool, but I got really messed up on the flight out there.
Was it a helicopter crash or something?
Yeah, I don't even remember hardly being at Bill Graham's funeral. I was pretty toasted.
Well, if you would have been sober, you might have grabbed a funeral brochure.
Oh boy, I wish I had one of those.
And pissed his wife off. But and so Craig, you kind of like you helped Skynyrd out with your credit card.
Well, yeah, that's what I was telling somebody that story. Some guy called me and he was telling me he was, after he watched the thing, he was trying to write a wake and bake song. and I was kind of telling him, that what I was, that stuff, and he was going, well, didn't you finance the band with your credit card when they, I goes, yeah, when I first got with the band, they had finished their first album, and you would think a band after they do an album are rock stars, but yeah,
Right.
I had to put fuel in the vehicles with my credit card to get them from point A to point B, and then they would pay me back, and we got to talking about bands being so broke when people, they're up on stage and people think they're rich and they're broke, man, because the manager steals all their money. It's like it's happened so many times. It happened to Ed King. Ed King had that Incense and Peppermints. I think it might have gone to the top 10 anyways, and he never made a dime off of Incense and Peppermints. And I guess Black Sabbath that happened too, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of bands. Yeah.
Badfinger actually got ripped off so bad. Two of the band members committed suicide, hung themselves because they got ripped off so bad.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah,
And then we were talking about the merchandise. We were talking about, I asked Craig, I said, when did they start figuring out that T-shirts would be a cool thing to make money off of?
Well, like I told you that 70s show when that Latin guy, he made up they went to a Ted Nugent show, and that Latin guy made up the T-shirts that said Tad, T-A-D Nugent, and they were gonna sell them at the show, and that's the way it was, man. Guys, you would go out in the crowd, and there would be 4 or 5, 6 different people selling different T-shirts, and nobody cared. I mean, the bands. Hey, did you get me one of those bootleg T-shirts? Well, they weren't bootleg because there wasn't that. Those were the T-shirts, the ones that people made, and band kind of appreciated them being made because it advertised the band, But then, somebody figured out, hey, we're missing out on some money here, I guess, or something. But yeah, people would always come up and yeah, there was no such thing as merchandising, but now, my God, it's a multi-billion-dollar business.
So you kind of watched that T-shirt sales and all
the
that
whole
kind of
thing, man.
evolve.
Yeah,
You watched it.
the
Yeah, you
whole
watched
thing.
it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I'm old school, man. Those shows that I was been watching about old roadies. These guys were touring in the '80s. It's funny, but they're
oh,
all of them got piercings and tattoos, and they're
yeah.
all they all look like a bunch of bikers, all pierced and tear tattooed and stuff. I'm still virgin.
Yeah, I don't have any tats either. But I remember Gene Odom telling me, he said that he was kind of Gene. If you're ever around Gene's kind of like he would have been a good point man in Vietnam. He's always like checking things out and seeing who's ripping somebody off. And he told me, he said he cornered Ronnie, and he goes, Ronnie, you're getting screwed, man, out of your money. He says these merchandise people are making more money or profiting more money than the band is. And
Gene's got a lot of common sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's one of the things that they were going to start checking into was how they were getting ripped off, by the people that were selling the merchandise, which is like big money, And so yeah, that's one of the things that Gene was telling me. But
hey, I
so
got to talk about my robe, though.
oh yeah, well you got to. Oh, is that a Days In
The
robe?
Days In, yeah. I'm Days In today. Days In Boston, yeah.
We'll call that a klepto robe.
Days In today. I'm Days In Boston.
So you don't remember
I
which
got my
days in?
whaler. Kind of matches my whaler hat. Boston's known for seafood, so I'm kind of whaling it today.
Yeah, you don't remember which days in you picked that
Waking
up
and
at?
I'm waking and baking and whaling and
So you got other robes that you're going to be wearing? Is that just like the
Oh,
standard
every day,
practice?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah, every day. I got.
You need to find that bag of keys, man.
Oh,
That you got.
I'll find that. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to see how big that bag is, how
it's
much it.
not a priority. I'll go find it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another thing we need to talk about too is our drawing. Um, and I think Martin Luther King Day is the 15th. I
Yeah,
might
I
have
didn't
said.
go to my post office box today, so if I ain't talking about getting a card, I didn't go today. So
Yeah, so that the microphone giveaway, there's a lot of cards coming in, and you guys are going to want to be in on this microphone giveaway here that was in about half of the podcast, and Craig signed it, and I'm going to sign it, and then we're going to give that sucker away. And yeah, you don't want to miss that because
Angela Leonard told me she sent one in, and she said, "No, don't just throw that envelope away. There's a little donation in there. It's not what I sent in before. I think she sent in $500 before. She said, ain't that much this time, but don't throw it away." So
yeah, so the way we're doing it is you just take an envelope and you put, P.O. Box 442, Green, Ohio 44232, and that's Craig's post office box. You don't need to put anything in it. Your return address is your drawing name. So whenever Craig goes to draw the name out of the hat, make sure that's on there. You don't have to put anything in the envelope. If you want to, you could put some money in there, and Craig will take it out and recognize you for it. So if you want to do that, and then Wednesday, which I believe is the 16th, or no, it's the 17th, I believe it is we'll do it on the wake and bake. We'll draw it next Wednesday. We'll do the drawing. How's that sound?
yeah,
Yeah, so you guys.
we're almost at 2,000 subscribers.
Yeah, the subscriptions are starting to bump up. I guess people are
Everybody
liking
send
the.
in $5. That's 10 grand.
Yeah.
I ain't
And
pimping you for nothing. I'm just kind of, for your information.
yeah, we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be auctioning too. We got those pictures back there. Of course, I was talking about the CD on the last Wake and Bake that we're going to be auction off. It's got two Rossington Collins backstage passes in it, signed by Barry Lee Harwood and Derek Hess. And then the actual CD is signed. And then there's that Van Zant family book that it's kind of a rare that Lacey Van Zant signed. And you guys go back on the last Wake and Bake and check that out. And we'll start trickling this stuff in that came from Kent Griffith and Brandon Campbell. And other things I'm working on too is I want to get some Steve Gaines material going. Some people are pretty cool. They've been sending me some stuff on Steve Gaines. I'm going to get with Kent Griffith. He's kind of like an expert on Steve Gaines, and he's got some stuff that he's going to go. I might even see if I can talk him to getting on the podcast because that guy's kind of like an authority on anything Lynyrd Skynyrd. Yeah, and then Gene Odom invited me. I believe it's the 19th up to Jacksonville, and he's going to be doing a video at the diner where Ronnie Van Zant, Carter's Pharmacy, where Ronnie Van Zant actually had some meetings with some people about becoming a singer. And then right down the road, there's a park there where Alan ran over one of his guitars and bent the neck on it. You happen to know which guitar that was, Craig?
The Firebird.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
So you remember when he did that?
No, I heard stories about it. Him, running over him having it on the back of the guitar and forgetting about it and running over. I heard about it. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess he forgot it on the ground back there and he backed
run
up
over the
and
neck. Yeah,
ran over the neck. And so that's going to be one of the cool places on Gene's West Side tour that he's going to start taking people because he no longer get to the Hell House. They're getting ready to build a house on the Hell House property, which is pretty sad. He
Yeah, you'd
said that.
have to go in by water, I guess, go in the back way. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
But
actually have.
I don't think there's any way you can close you down from going back there. I don't. Yeah.
No, no. As a matter of fact, when I went back there with Steve Reynolds, we went down Black Creek and down Peters Creek to get to the Hell House property, which is really cool because that's the same route you guys took when you wrecked that boat back there that one
But
time. I
you
mean,
could, if you got into that allotment there, you could still see the property. I mean, even though they put a house there, you can still. I mean, it's right there where the train and the train roll on, and what's the two landmarks? Train roll on
oh well,
and
yeah. Tuesday's gone, and
Tuesday's gone and train roll on. It's right there where the train is.
yeah, the trestle right there.
Yeah.
It's which you can hear the train, when you're there. It's kind of spooky, when you're there and you're out there. Well, back when the dock was there, I think they removed all the boards off the top of the dock, and the only thing that's left, from what Gene said, is kind of like the frame that's underwater. And
Yeah, if you
Gene wants to get the rest of that, and he's already been talking to the owners about trying to get the rest of that frame out of there. But
Yeah, if you go down there and you see where the train is, it's about 100 yards on the right side of the train, and if you're standing where the train, if you look to the right about 100 yards, that's right. It's about right there where the Hell House was. Yeah.
yeah, people used to go up on the trestle and they would listen to Lynyrd Skynyrd play. They would go up there and you could hear it, and that sound kind of carries over the water. And then people used to sneak in, and I guess you guys maybe had a couple guys hanging around there that would run them off. You ever catch anybody sneaking in there, Craig?
Well, there was always somebody there. Yeah, that's why we had to stay there. There was always somebody there.
Always somebody, yeah, but there was people trying to sneak in there to hear the band, didn't they?
Oh, well, I never found anybody sneaking in. No, never
Damn,
did.
but if I'd have known about it, I would have snuck in back there. I would have brought my motorcycle down there and rode up there, and Craig would have seen me on my motorcycle. I'd have handed him a joint and said, "Hey, you want to ride my motorcycle?" You think that would have worked? You think they would have let me hang around if I'd have rode my
No,
motorcycle?
they didn't let anybody hang around.
No.
Joe Crimp and Randall Hall and Gary.
Carlisi used to hang around there.
Yeah, there was a handful of people that would hang around, but that was about it. Yeah, there was Crimp and Randall Hall and Carlisi and Gary. He was in Running Easy or forget.
Yeah, running easy and slowpoke, right?
Yeah.
But I think
Slowpoke.
Joe Crimp might have been the one that found the Hell House because, he just lives right down the road from that property to this day, and he kept his horse out there, and he told me he was on stage somewhere, and somebody said, "Hey, man, I gotta tell you some." I think it was Gary. Gary broke the news to him that his horse had died. Somebody found his horse dead at the Hell House property, and they actually buried it right there on the Hell House property, which is his horse is still there.
Who? Gary's horse?
No, Joe's.
Joe's. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which that if you look at the Hell House painting that I did, and Joe Crimp has the original Hell House painting at the beginning of the podcast. That picture of the Hell House. That's kind of what it looked like, and Joe was the guy who kind of like was the advisor to me on how to paint that and what it looked like. And Karen Weber helped me out with that some too, and with some pictures. And then when I was done with it, I knew I was going to give it to Joe, so that's why I put that horse on there. And Craig said, "That horse don't look too good, Griff." But that was actually that horse painting was from a picture that Joe had that I actually painted it just the way it looked. So it is what it is. But
The only thing I missed from that painting was I told you right away. I said, "Where's this called the bull skull.
Oh yeah,
Hanging up
on the telephone pole.
on the telephone pole, the skull that was the bull skull that was up there.
Wasn't that the bull that used to attack you guys when you tried to come in the gate?
No, no, no,
No.
no.
Somebody said there was a
That was
bull that.
no, I don't think so. That was the one that Leon threw a brick at it and knocked it, hit it between the eyes and knocked it out. Leon thought he killed the bull.
Yeah, you said you guys used to you used to have to haul ass through that sugar sand or you'd get stuck out there.
Oh God! Oh yeah, that was sand. When it rained, oh, that old Oldsmobile '88 I had, man, that thing would cruise right through there, though.
Oh, I had an Oldsmobile 88. Those were pretty good cars. I think I
Yeah,
had a
that
four-door or something, you know.
I hauled all the band back in there. Yeah,
That was a pretty long haul from the
I
road.
Delta '88. Yeah,
It was probably at
it
least
was a,
like a couple miles, wasn't it?
no, it was a quarter mile.
Quarter mile?
Yeah, maybe a little
Seemed like
more
a
than a
long.
quarter mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got to go out there before any houses were built out there, so it seemed like a long haul from the road all the way back to where the Hell House
Well,
property
it
was.
seems like a long ways when you're on on sand and all that. Yeah, it was just a dirt sandy road. Yeah, it seems like a
And there
long.
was a guy, I think his name was John Gohagen, that owned the property there.
John, that's all I
Big,
remember.
yeah, Big John, and the Hell House got burned down, and then he started to try to build another one. So a lot of people think that some of the slab they're getting out of the ground out there, according to Gene Odom, there were two slabs. The first slab was the Hell House slab, and it was finally dug up and removed, and then the other slab was built there, and it and they even said, somebody said that Johnny has that slab and he thinks it's the Hell House slab, which I don't know, Johnny, if you're listening, if that's really the Hell House slab or not. You might want to do some investigating on that. But I think he's got it at his house out by his garage or something, and he thinks that's the Hell House slab, but Gene says it's not. So,
Here's your
yeah, there's the
hell
horse right there. Yeah.
house.
Yeah, that's the painting that I did right there. And when I painted it, when I was a little kid, man, I used to watch Bob Ross all the time, and when I would stay home sick from school, I would do my little paintings, and then that's how I kind of learned how to do all that wet on wet paintings and oil paintings and stuff. And then when I went out to the Hell House, I said, I wanna bring the Hell House back to life. And so when I painted it, I finished it and I painted that horse and gave it to Joe, and he's got it hanging over his fireplace. So that's where the original is, and good old Joe Crimp has the original, which that's where I think it
That
belongs.
looks like the Hell House, though.
Yeah, yeah, that's the doors open there and somebody's in there jamming. I think I see Ed King in there. Well, yeah, so that's a little bit of information on that, and I guess Craig, we're to keep
Yeah,
these
we're
things
just
around
yeah,
40 minutes. I think we're
yeah.
probably
That's
approaching
a
that.
that's a morning show. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my bag in the trunk and I'm gonna head up to Crystal River, and I hope to see you guys there. Um, Come up. It's going to be really cool. There's going to be some cool music, some bands up there that tribute bands, Santana and you got of course Six Gun going to be playing, and then I think it's Saturday and Sunday. I think there's going to even be some. Jimmy Buffett is going to have a tribute band there too, and I think there's going to be like boat rides and kayaking, and there's going to be plenty to eat and all kinds of cool stuff. So you guys come up and say hi to me, and we'll talk some smack about Craig, that I know some stories that I can't tell on here. I'll tell you there. So that's all I got, Craig, unless you got something else.
No, that's it. This has been podcast. This has been the Wake and Bake, the Stone Roadie Wake and Bake Show, podcast number 118, Stone Roadie Show number 3, and that's a wrap. And happy trails to you until we meet again, and may the good Lord take a liking to you. And until next time on the Stone Roadies Show, we're out of here. Bye.
See you later.